Don't forget that even though we didn't see it on the mainstream, that man 3-0'd Clem in the previous round. That's gonna make you absolutely flying, eliminating the European champ. But we'll talk more about the storylines and the players they defeated so far after the introductions. In the bottom right side, we're looking at the main base with the man who has already made some history, but he wants to make way more history for himself. Representing Team GP, the Korean Protoss player, NightMare.
And spawning over in the top left as our blue Terran. He's vicious, he's savage, he's Bunny.
I like what you said there, but I do really think that Bunny looks at this like, this is not just doable. He's like, I maybe even got a bit lucky, you know, like NightMare is clearly very good, but normally in the top 8, you can expect to run into a Serral. You can run into someone like Raynor if he would have been there, or Clem, or Maru, but instead it is a Protoss that he has played twice this year, and 2 times he was able to get a 2-0 victory. As right after the intros, we had a pause. Seemed like the referee paused the game. So what basically happened is I believe that one of the players spilled their drink. They got so excited, chugging some Monster, getting ready, getting that extra bit of adrenaline and caffeine in, that they got a bit too excited. And playing StarCraft with sticky fingers is difficult, man.
It certainly is, Kevin, but I know the joy of Monster and I know what it can do to you. But the players both ready now, and hopefully we're going to have a smooth series between them, but probably not smooth in play styles, as both of these like to play very aggressive, very everywhere, very chaotic, and I'm looking forward to see what both of them bring. And so far, Bunny hasn't opted for this double gas build that a lot of Terrans have been doing. Might be something to do with Moondance, but also we have no idea what goes through the heads of these players. And we've got to remember, at one point, these guys were teammates, I believe.
NightMare's really come a long way as well. If you think of many years ago where he had that game on Overgrowth, and it's like, oh my god, DTs with Blink are useful, and that was obviously before it got buffed way down the line. I think that was always the one thing that I remembered him for. But he kind of really has made his way up through the ranks over time. He just became a better and more solid player. While in the beginning it was just pure gimmicks, and it's like, okay, that's really cool. You can win a one-off build or a one-off game with a unique build against somebody that's good. But how are you going to win a best of 5 or a best of 7? But he has truly worked a lot on his skill set, and he became a much more well-rounded player. But in my eyes, definitely still a pretty clear underdog in this best of 5.
Yeah, like Bunny on paper, he is one of the top 8 of this event, right? Like I know there's players like Cure and such that have already had relatively early exits for how good they are, but Bunny, with what he did with Clem, that was not an easy opponent whatsoever. And the fact that he went 1-1 with Cure in the group stage, you know, Serral is a beast in himself, but yeah, Bunny, he looks at this and you're totally right, Kev. He's been unlucky in a lot of tournaments, but here, maybe the stars are aligning for him.
Even throughout the year, right? Bunny was forced to play some GSL matches from Spain, I believe, because he got COVID after DreamHack Masters Valencia, had to cancel a tournament. Like, it hasn't been Bunny's luckiest year, even though he had a lot of great performances, and I do believe it was indeed top 8 Katowice. I think he lost to Rogue back then. Didn't he lose to Rogue? Wasn't it like the last series of the day, very late in the quarterfinals?
I think so. They had to play very, very late.
Yeah, you probably already went to the hotel and went to bed.
Yeah, I probably did, you know?
You always abandon us in the late days, man. You can't do that this time around here. Forced to stay till 4 AM, and I love it.
I mean, it is a very different event over here. You guys, it's kind of early in the day for you. Here we're casting until the early hours of the morning, but, you know, good games keep us up all night long, and we're hoping this is going to be a really good series. So far, Bunny is opting for something very tried and true here. Most likely going to go for some Widowmine drop play, whereas NightMare playing it very safe and solid with a 3-gate Blink Stalker opening.
Yeah, on paper this should be an alright response for NightMare. Obviously it all comes down to unit positioning and hopefully pulling probes away if it really comes to that. But he does get a good scout off here. It's obviously very nice to see the Stalkers, see the Twilight Council. NightMare is a little slow to react there, as perhaps he was busy keeping the Hellion at bay, but never feels good to lose a probe.
Never feels good. I mean, if this Hellion was in a slightly better position over to that over yonder, but there's obviously 2 potential thirds that the Protoss can take, so he was kind of in between there, but didn't get to spot that probe going down. But now this medevac will start moving into position here, and there isn't that pylon on the far right side of the map, like behind a Nexus.
Yeah, but there is a Nexus.
I mean, there's a Nexus. I don't know if he flew into it. It was in production, right? But
yeah, he was awfully close though, but yeah, the range is very tiny. It's a lot of probes here in the natural. It's very important that NightMare is paying attention. Actually, it's kind of nice for him that he just took the gases, right? Now there are less probes clumped up, so the Widow mines are a bit less intimidating, but you still don't want to let these mines fire and connect with your workers. Seems so far so good. That's only 2 workers going down, 1
Wow.
worker going down, only 1.
That was sick. Even the first one, it was just kind of like, hey, this isn't going to go off on anything. But NightMare's prep versus that was actually really solid. Like, the good split, very quick, didn't run the probes too far away. So far, NightMare's living up to the challenge.
Yeah, no, that's kind of perfect, and it's kind of interesting to see him go for a very quick Robo-Bay as well. So he obviously took the 3rd and 4th gas relatively early. Bunny is now perhaps in a spot where he feels, hey, with my first push, I'm actually going to have to deal a lot of damage. You know, I'm going to go for the Raven. I will be able to drop an interference matrix on your Colossus, and then my army is going to be a lot better than yours. If that doesn't happen, I'm not exactly sure why we blinked a single Stalker forward. I know it's potentially soak up a tank shot, but if there's no tank inside, I don't know if that was really needed. We are taking a lot of damage on some of these Stalkers though, NightMare, so you want to be careful. But so far, so good, even though that one Hellion that got dropped in the pocket expand did actually get a couple of shots up, and all those Stalkers got 3 probes. That 140 HP Hellion got 3 probes. Well, the Stalkers got SCVs, the Hellion got probes.
The single Hellion with half health did better than 2 Widowmine drops before, which is kind of crazy to think about. But that single blinking, it was either try and get a tank shot just to see what's happening, or say if you blink on a Widowmine kind of thing and just having one of your Stalkers damage, it's not the end of the world, right? But this army that Bunny's got now, 88 supply, in fact, he's 20 supply lead here. He's got the Raven online. Is there a single Colossus out? There is, but that can be made redundant, and this is actually ridiculously scary. There's no shield battery over here either.
This is scary. I mean, it's all about the interference matrix. One of the Widow mines did get picked off though, and the second mine is forced to shoot at this Stalker, and NightMare obviously keeps the Stalkers alive. So Bunny feels that his army's not good enough to pull the trigger, so he picked up a bunch of units, but NightMare just sniffed that out. Even though he had no vision, just a forward blink on instinct, and he was correct. Spider senses, Ben. That's what you get when you're on an 8 series win streak in a tournament.
Yeah, it's got to be mentioned that NightMare's probe count isn't super high yet, but that's also because he's got out a really good army to defend this, and I think he's responded very appropriately. But this fight is a big one, and Bunny takes his moment to pounce, and he takes out the shield battery very quickly, and now this 3rd base is absolutely under threat, and Bunny, he is fierce here in this series to start off with.
Yep, Bunny's micro is always good. He's going to run away after he took out that Nexus, and Widowmine does connect with a couple of the Zealot. Extended Turbulence not quite done yet. It is close to finishing up, but that was a ridiculous amount of damage, and there is no Protoss player who will ever be very happy with this. We do blink forward, snipe a medevac. That's obviously good on the side of the underdog, but NightMare needs a whole lot more than he's been getting so far. And even though Bunny doesn't even need to be aggressive, Bunny just feels so confident. He's like, my army is very good. Your army is not very good. He kills 1 Colossus. The 2nd Colossus will fall as well. And this game is just over, Ben. Just like that. It seems that Bunny has closed out this game while going up to 3 bases. Didn't pull the boys or anything. It's utter and complete domination here in game 1 by Bunny.
Holy crap. I've been looking at Bunny's mineral count. It never goes up above 150, basically. Like, I'm just looking at it constantly. He's still macroing as this is going on. Look at it. Dropping down to the 50 mark every time. Great macro, great micro out of Bunny.
Brutality.
Savage. Like, fatality kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that was actually insane, because it's not like this is a game with like, wow, everything went perfect for Bunny and everything went bad for NightMare. It's like, no, NightMare actually responded very well against the Widowmine drop. He only lost 2 workers. That Hellion did a little bit more than it was supposed to, but at the same time, he killed 3 SCVs on the other side of the map. It just felt that if we want to rush out the Colossus like that, and you go up against the Raven, which is an intimidating unit, this is where you need to have a battery, right? If there is a world where NightMare has a Guardian Shield and a battery, you pop battery overcharge, and even without the Colossus, your Protoss army will do alright. It won't do fantastic, but it will do alright, and then once the Matrix runs out or Colossus number 2 shows up, that's where you can keep the 3rd base safe. But not having a battery finished, not having a Guardian Shield there to protect your units against the bio, just made this a relatively easy and straightforward game for Bunny. And look how savage he is here, man. He just keeps on stimming forward with a bunch of low HP units, 3 base against 2 base. He didn't have to do him like that, but he did. He's like, I heard there is food coming, and Wadi only has 20 minutes. Let me go ahead and make that game 1 very quick. That was impressive.
We were actually joking upstairs when we were like talking with Wally, you know, he's getting upset about the fact that this series could be fast, and we're like, yeah, at some point NightMare's just going to opt out in the 3rd game, be like, hashtag the prophecy, GG, screw you, Wally. But yeah, no, I mean, Bunny, he's looking confident, he's looking cool, and I just saw him. Careful. No spilling. No spilling,
Bunny.
mate.
We already had 1 delay. It's like, alright, he's good. To give you guys a little bit of info to our memes, this all started a long time ago when we did one of the DreamHack Masters season finals events from the studio. where after not having Waddy's favorite food for 2 days, on the 3rd day he finally got his McDonald's. He was so excited. It just happened to arrive right when Waddy was forced to sit down to cast Scarlet Innovation. Scarlet takes a 2-0 lead after 2 long games. Innovation brings it back, and to make matters even worse, our good friend Johan Merlo thought it was a great idea to bring the McDonald's right over to Waddy so he could look at it, he could smell it for an hour and a half, and in the end he ended up with saggy fries. And that's how the meme is born. And it's been non-stop ever since. Anyway, I digress. In the top left side of Cosmic Sapphire, we are looking at the main base of our Korean Protoss. Memes aside, he has played a great tournament, but he's down 0-1. Needs to clean it up here in Game 2. This is Team GP's NightMare.
I've actually never seen Wardy so upset. But spawning over in the bottom right here as our blue Terran, it is Bunny.
You haven't until tonight when it happens all over again. And I will definitely bring the fries to Waddy. And I'll probably Todd as well. Did you manage to eat? No, Todd. I could not cast a video game while eating a Big Mac. It's very difficult.
It's actually funny that Todd thought he was doing him a favor there too. And it's like, Todd, in no world is that a favor, mate. No world whatsoever. This game, though, we're seeing something very different. And this game, he's going for the Barracks double gas opener, which is far more common these days in TVP. And NightMare's doing the one thing that this kind of evolved because of, that all these proxy gate shenanigans started becoming far more relevant. They're actually pretty difficult to hold off. And
yep. If you're NightMare, I feel like what you're always hoping for is like Reaper fast expand on the low ground, or Marine fast expand on the low ground, and maybe a super greedy opening where Bunny doesn't even SCV scout. I've always hated this kind of stuff. If I try to be a bit cheesy, a bit aggressive as a Protoss player early on, like, what are you going to accomplish here, Ben?
I mean, you see this and you're already thinking, damn it. Like, as far as builds go, this is absolutely not what you want to see. You see those 2 depots on the high ground? That's a delayed CC. And the only reason you delay a CC is either you're going double gas or you're super crazy. You're like, okay, CC on high ground, but nobody ever does that kind of stuff. You'll do the CC on the high ground, but after, and look at this scouting. This is some Sixth Sense stuff. This is really good series play out of Bunny.
Yep, Bunny is feeling it. He was dropped into a very tough group in the 3rd group stage of this tournament together with Serral, Cure and Lambo. Bunny ended up in the 3rd place, which means he had to play a couple of series to get where he currently is, but obviously in that previous round, the trio over Clam that really has to give you wings. Even if that's just a specific matchup, you're taking out one of the strongest players in the tournament, the man that keeps on winning the European regionals. And so far, Bunny's is playing with a man that has a lot of confidence, and he is on point. And well, you said damn it before when you see the 2 depots. It's double damn it when you see there's a bunker as well. And you're like, well, can't really do a whole lot anymore here, can I? And you know you're eventually going to lose the pylon. Eventually going to lose that gateway. On top of that, because of the way that NightMare has opened, he has delayed his own tech, and I do like this.
This is great.
You may as well make this even weirder, and this is also why a lot of people love watching NightMare, because he's different and he's not willing to do, not afraid to do crazy things like taking a gold in the quarterfinals of a DreamHack Masters.
No, this is actually really cool, and this can absolutely catch you off guard. When you're already behind, why cement a behind position? He's going for everything here, and he might as well. Even if it gets scouted out, going to that base down there, you can still get out Blink pretty darn quickly, which, depending on what army Bunny comes out with, it could be scary. This Zealot, unfortunately, will die.
Don't tell me he's going to kill the Cyclone.
I'm not going to say that again, Kevin. I'm not going to pull a Rotterdam over here, you know. But yeah, that Nexus over in the bottom left hasn't been scouted just yet. And Bunny at the moment, he's probably thinking, all right, what's actually going on here? Because you always have to worry about the potential for a Protoss all-in, but soon it's going to start sinking in. All right, what are you actually doing?
At this point, you're a bit worried about crazy one-base stuff. You know that NightMare is no stranger to very quick Dark Templars, so I'm sure that Bunny's a little bit worried about that. But then one of the other things is like, there is a gold. NightMare is pretty weird. Has he taken the gold? And the Reaper is successfully making its way to the bottom left side. That's a big scout for Bunny. And now Bunny can just think about how he wants to tackle the problem that is the gold. Having Blink is nice, but this obviously also means that like tanks and stuff are going to show up so quickly. I personally am not in love with the Raven here. I don't feel that this is a Raven kind of game, but what you can still do with it is obviously send it to the top left side of the map and just drop auto turrets and make it a proper nuisance like that. But I feel like there are better choices than a Raven in a weird offbeat, off-tempo game like this one.
Yeah, I mean, you could even go with a very unorthodox, like, Banshee kind of approach, because having the Observer in the right place, be it in the bottom left or the top left, but you know, Bunny, he's a really good player. The Observer, or rather the work account's still pretty close, but look at the pro production, Kev, and he's going up to his 5th gateway here. This is going to be very aggressive.
I still think the Bunny is worried about DTs. Maybe that's why the Raven as well. And obviously NightMare is the kind of guy to stop mining gas altogether. And he doesn't go Blink, he would go Charge instead. And he shows up with a bunch of Zealots and DTs. Maybe that's why Stalkers is just going to go ahead and blink forward past the bunker on top of multiple siege tanks. And sure, a couple of Terran units have gone down, but a silly amount of Stalkers went down there as well. And I think we can all agree that, yeah, Asterix, that did not work out at all. 7 Stalkers, a Zealot, and a Probe fall for a single tank. Oh my goodness.
And look at that, NightMare's actually doubling down on the situation. And I'm kind of not surprised. I mean, it is crazy, don't get me wrong, but the thing is, he's so far behind right now. If he does try and take a 3rd base, it's just going to be, hey, pop, and he's going to move out with the big Terran army. So he's going to try and make Bunny move out at the very normal time and then hopefully wrap around him. But, oh, mate, this has been a disaster game so far for him.
Disaster series, right? That first game, like, yeah, okay, off to a somewhat decent start, but then we just died to the first push. Never a good feeling. That's something that happens when Protoss players that are good go up against Terran players that are just a bit better. You know, ask Gabe about it. Gabe shows that every single Monday, multiple times throughout the bracket. And you don't expect that to happen in the quarterfinals with DreamHack Masters. We know that NightMare absolutely has the skills to make this a close and competitive series. But game 1 was rough, and game 2 so far is even more brutal. Maybe the Prism, a crazy amount of Zealots, but at this point, Bunny is not going to do something crazy. That man has been playing for years. He knows that he's in a magnificent spot, and all he needs to do is just play it safe until we get some upgrades, until we get a few more bio units, right? Don't put yourself in a position where suddenly 10 Zealots are a bit too much to deal with. If you wait, give or take 60 seconds, that will never happen.
No, and I mean, +1's about to finish up as well. Like, Zealots without any upgrades, I know they have charge, but that's not going to cut it against this amount of Marines. And right now, he wants to buy time. But Bunny, he's going to be making a lot of units, even has the medevac rallied out there, so damage will be reduced a little bit. That siege tank still left it behind at home, and now you've got these bio units already back at home, and that Warp Prism, they got a little bit close there, but Bunny kind of on the move command there with his army.
Turret, mate. The auto turrets are killing 7 probes in the main base of NightMare. Swear to God, you have their banner. Cyclone locks on the Prism as well. Prism did get out, that wasn't even close, but 7 workers. NightMare was already in an economic deficit. It looks a little bit fancy when a couple Zealots show up and you're like, oh, the tanks are dealing friendly fire. But this worker count does not lie. 50 SCVs against 31 probes. I think we have to go Storm here. Like, just Archons alone are already not going to cut it anymore because I think Bunny's army is too big. I think the only thing you can hope for is rush out Storm, as we do have another auto turret go down. And the Stalkers are blinking this time around. We do pull the probes. Yeah, hope that we land the best in the biggest storms ever, but so far it's just a very brutal game 2 where everything that Bunny can do right, he is doing right, and NightMare, whatever he has in mind, it is just not working out.
No, he's safe and solid across the board, and that Protoss army, it will not match up. Bunny doesn't even have to move or kite back. He's going to do it a little bit with the army on the right. It's a nice micro by him, but the supplies do not lie. The Zealots absolutely melted. The Stalkers have to run home with their tail between the legs. And Bunny's looking phenomenal, and NightMare just can't get anything done. Bunny's looking bulletproof.
Look at the units lost resource step of this game. This has to be one of the most cost-efficient TVPs in a little while. Bunny has lost 2,000 resources. NightMare has lost 5k. These are very unusual numbers for this matchup. 22 units going down on the side of the Terran, over 50 on the side of NightMare. And obviously NightMare is not going to randomly give up. He wants to try one more time. Hope that there is an opening somewhere in the defenses of Bunny, but I'm afraid it's a day late and a dollar short, and I'm sure he knows these Zealots are melting. He did wipe in High Templar, I think maybe to feed back the Raven. He's like, the last thing I do in this game is to make sure that I don't see another auto turret go down. I'll be a happy man. So we wiped in a couple of Archons in the bottom left side, but Archons can be very good against Bio if the Bio ball is like small, you know. If they struggle taking out an Archon, I'm afraid after all the units that NightMare has donated in the last 90 seconds, that these Archons are going to be sitting ducks. And the cherry on top for Bunny is a Widowmine connecting with a Warp Prism. Bunny's on point and he's feeling it, and he's absolutely dominating this quarterfinal so far.
Oh, he's monstrous, mate. Over doubling the supply here, and NightMare backs off to that gold base. Hand off the keyboard there for a moment. It's too much. Bunny takes a 2-0 swift lead. Hey, the prophecy might come real at this point, Kev.
He can't be any more convincing and dominating than that so far. Big moment for Bunny in his career, as he has traveled a lot over the last few years, and he often had super good showings early on in tournaments, but is never quite able to go all the way. And there's definitely a very decent amount of fans of Bunny in the foreign scene, because it's impossible not to like this guy. He's always happy. He never see him complain about anything. Is never upset over anything. Just shows up, has a good time with everyone, and he plays his heart out. And so far, it definitely seems that the stars are aligning for him in this tournament. He's not there yet, but after those 2 games, you really wonder what could go wrong. I have rarely seen, Ben, this many stalkers dying for a tank.
I mean, this was brutal. That was the start of it all. Or, I mean, actually, if I go back to just the builds alone, Kev, the first game, Bunny opted, because this is the mind games that are going on, Bunny opted for a very regular old-school TVP, where it's 1 barracks, Reaper Scout, CC on the low ground. And I think NightMare took, you know, account of that. And then the next game is like, oh, if you're going to do that again, I'm going to go for the proxy gateway while having a gateway in my base, which is very good against that kind of stuff. But this game, Bunny kind of mixed it up and said, hey, I'm going to do the perfect counter to that kind of stuff. So there's definitely mind games going on here, series playing going on, and Bunny's getting the better of both ends of the spectrum, and just very nicely handled by him.
Build order-wise, obviously definitely advantage Bunny, but it's not supposed to be that extreme. It's not supposed to lead into such a one-sided series, right? It's just like one of these things as a protege, you're like, yeah, okay, that kind of stinks. I'm kind of unhappy with that. But if I just get one little victory down on the board, you know, in the next 90 seconds to 2 minutes, I'm going to be totally fine, and I will be able to overcome the little deficit that I'm in at the moment. But there was no victory to be found for NightMare. He tried to get lucky with all the stalkers. It just did not work out, killing only a single tank. Bunny's defensive setup was excellent. The man seems to have a very good read on the series and on how NightMare likes to play so far. Let's see if this man can start turning it around, because he's had an absolutely magical journey so far in this tournament. Starting in round 1 of the knockout bracket. Nobody has ever made it this far. He was down 0-2 in the previous series. He came back. Can he do that one more time? This is Team GP's NightMare.
And spawning on the northeast corner, playing as the Blue Terran, representing Team NV, it is Bunny. I like that you bring up that this isn't the first time that NightMare's been in this situation this tournament. I mean, the whole tournament, he's kind of been on the ropes right from day 1. In that he got knocked down in that group stage, went to the round 1 of the knockout bracket, and he's fought all the way. Previous series, he was down 0-2 against Scarlet, came back to win it 3-2. He's the kind of guy that's resilient. He can come back, but Bunny's a whole different ballgame when it comes to being able to make that happen against him.
What I've always loved about Bunny as well is that he does have that killer instinct, right? And that's something that, as much as I love Beyond as well, and as much as fun as Beyond is to watch, Beyond misses that sometimes a little bit. And I feel like they make it overly complicated. You can see Bunny there towards the end. I love it. With that one fight where he's like, he doesn't even really need to guide anymore. He just stands there. He's like, got a lot of medevacs, got +1. I think it's a pretty good fight for me. And after that, he could play it safe and sound and go back, or try to set up a drop into the main base, but he's like, nah, my army is just good enough in a straight up fight. And then he just rallies everything towards where the action is taking place. A true no-nonsense Terran that definitely aims to kill him. That killer instinct is there, and I think it's very important to not make things overly complicated. These tournaments are long, they are draining. This is the last series of the day for these two, no matter if they win or lose, but you know, if you can end it, just go ahead and end it.
Yeah, all cards on the table here. Like, you are absolutely right. Bunny is the kind of guy that can really break your morale during a series just because of how easy it makes it look. Like, just
a little bit like Gabe.
A little bit like Gabe in that he's very good with the build orders, but also he's just very quick, you know? Like, if this hasn't even got to that chaos situation that I think he's the best at, or at least one of the best at.
He's very fast. Like, I think people underestimate the speed of Bunny in general.
Yeah, like his multitasking, being able to fight in several places at once, that's where Bunny really shines. He's shining right now before that's even happened, and right now he's making all the correct moves, all the correct choices. Even this, keeping this SCV alive, and I thought I was about to pull a Roddy there where it was just going to die in front, but he's playing well, and you see that he's ticking all the T's, crossing all, or dotting all the I's. He's playing well.
Yep, the Adept's going to show up, but Bunny will raise the depot, so there is nowhere to go for the Adept. So far, not a single unit has fallen. There's a very low HP SCV in the main base. There are two kind of bruised SCVs in the natural. There is a low HP Marine, but Bunny's keeping each and every single unit alive so far. On the side of NightMare, we've got a Twilight Council going down. We've got a Robotics Facility going down. It's not that the strategies of NightMare have been bad. Is this 4-gate? No, it's just 3-gate blink so far. It's not that the setup in game 1 was bad. It's just that if you take a forward expand like that and you want to play quick Colossus, you really need to have a sentry or two. Guardian Shield, super important. Now we do have the extra gateways going down. I was like, alright, is it going to be 4-gate blink? And the answer is yes. As we're going to take a look at the first person view, brought to you by the US Air Force. Aim high. Love that segment that Cats just did, by the way. I thought it was a funny one. As we can see that Bunny is just trying to get a little scout off, and NightMare is doing his best to prevent that.
I like that NightMare's going for this kind of build though, right? Because rather than being the player that's sitting back and letting Bunny attack you, this kind of says to me that he wants to go at his tempo. And I do know that NightMare is very good micro-wise, especially at this kind of stuff. I know that Blink in the game before was kind of like, oh, why are you doing that for a single tank? But, you know, he was already behind. He had to do something kind of crazy. Whereas this kind of stuff, this can actually put the game in your control right from the get-go. And this medevac drop is skirting the border of where those Stalkers exactly are.
Felt that NightMare was kind of trying to sniff it out, but now his units are a little bit out of position. Warp is coming in from the left side. This means the Stalkers can't be there in time. We're going to have to pull the probes away immediately, NightMare, and he does. So far, I want to say so good. Widowmine shoots at only a single probe and an Adept. I mean, once more, good start here for NightMare. There is not another Widowmine inside of this. Bunny right now probably needs another bunker, right? Does he have a bunker? Yeah, then there you go. Drops the bunker immediately. I think that's smart because he obviously didn't go tanks right off the get-go. It was Widowmine drop into tanks, and that means you have a few less units, so I really like the extra bunkers.
Look how annoying he's been with that Reaper and Hellion, by the way, constantly making it so he has to keep at least one Stalker back at home, and that can really be the difference with this kind of stuff. Getting to see that there was a probe moving out, most likely to take a third after this as well. So then he's like, all right, that's how you're playing it. Look at that bunker. He's got 2 on the low ground, 1 in the main. Like he knows exactly what's going on. This doesn't mean it won't get damage done because quite the
Blink behind the mineral line, right?
Yeah, and even that engineering bay was a little bit precarious, right, over there on the far right side. But so far, this is actually nice damage out of NightMare. This is one of the best starts he's had in this series.
Absolutely, as he's dropping the Robo Bay as well. Wants to gun down the medevac, and he gets the medevac. Solid play here by NightMare. 4 SCVs and a medevac. Can also blink behind this mineral line, because the tanks can be everywhere at once. And all of this while going up to charge. Drops an Immortal as well, or at least queues up an Immortal. And the Robo Bay is more than 65% done. We're going up to 3 bases. As that Raven does spot these 4 Stalkers, but he doesn't quite have the right amount of units to immediately deal with it. NightMare needs to be careful. Let's not throw away a couple Stalkers, as these Stalkers are now in range of the tank. But this is indeed an excellent setup for the Korean Protoss.
I love this. When you're under pressure in the previous games and it's like you're always on the back foot. I know he tried to make it something out of the second game, but turning the page and just being like, all right, every game is fresh. Let's do something very, very different. And this is very different. He's bringing it to Bunny. And Bunny's the one that likes to be aggressive. Doesn't mean he can't handle this kind of stuff, but it's what he likes. It's what he falls back to every time. And there probably will be a push out of him. In fact, did he go up to 3 CC? Because I see 2 extra barracks in the making. It feels like he wants to go full on 2 base aggression after being poked like this. And as NightMare poked the bear one too many times, I feel his supply is really good here.
But it is double eBay.
It is double eBay. It's very peculiar, actually, the way he's gone about this.
A little bit of everything. NightMare really needs to be careful of these Stalkers already a bit better than Bruce. And you don't want to overstay your welcome. One more other stims forward. Let's pick him up and get out of there. 1 Stalker falls. I mean, NightMare's had a bit of a nightmare series so far, so you really hope that things turn around for him, as Bunny's going to try to intercept that War Prism. Okay. Well, that Mister is not quite done yet. Okay, you need to keep it there, and he does. And obviously, every second that goes by should be good for the Protoss. 3 base setup. Colossus more than halfway done. Warps in a sentry this time around.
Oh, that. You know, that was definitely some nice baiting by Bunny. He kind of showcased they had a little army on the left of it, but then that army lied it in wait as well. He didn't wait at the edge, he waited for enough space to stim on top of it. Very nicely done.
I do like the sentries this time around though, but yeah, obviously expensive loss, War Prism, 3 Stalkers inside of it. The sentries are great to buy time, but NightMare is just avoiding this army. Why is he all the way on the right side?
Oh no!
My goodness, you're joking.
The saddest Colossus in the middle of the map. The SCVs are being pulled as well. It's going to be a 1-1 Terran army, and that is 1 Colossus less than what he should have had. And look, a Warp Prism being made. That's a single pylon now powering up those 2 gateways and the Robo. This is so disastrous, but he's getting on top of the army. A bit of a wraparound here here, but he's not near a shield battery. And look at this positioning by Bunny. There is so much bio. The Protoss army is just melting away. Bunny, I think he's doing it here. There is a shield battery overcharge, which is going to keep stuff alive, but he focuses it down very quickly. The bio is very battered and bruised here, Kev, but can he hold on with a single Colossus? It doesn't look like he's pulling the Probe Strike even alive, but no! Oh, what a disaster for NightMare.
Too much bio and the reinforcements have arrived. A couple of probes are not going to make the difference, and Bunny gets the clean sweep in the first quarterfinals of the day. 3-0, Little Nut, well done. He deserves